The message got long, and then it got short, and then it got long again. That is how it goes when somebody is trying to say a true thing to a person they are afraid of losing. They wrote the whole account first, everything, all the reasons and the history and the apology and the explanation. Then they took out the parts that made them look bad. Then they put those back in, because the parts that made them look bad were the actual point. By the end it was 4 sentences. You were somewhere else while that was happening. Standing in a bathroom brushing your teeth on autopilot, thinking about a completely unrelated problem. Sitting on the couch with the remote in your hand not changing anything. Lying down and turning over and adjusting a pillow that was already fine. Your phone was face down or face up and it did not matter, because nothing was going to arrive. And I am not going to tell you tonight whether it ever gets sent, or when, or through which door. That part is mine. What I will tell you is what was in it, and what it means, and what it exposes about something you have been doing your entire life. My child, they read it 50 times. I want you to understand what a person is doing when they do that. They are not editing. Nobody needs 50 passes to fix 4 sentences. They are rehearsing the aftermath. Every read is another walk through what happens next. What you would think. What your face would do. What it would mean if the reply came fast, or slow, or not at all. And on the 50th pass they were not braver than on the first. They were more tired. That is what 50 reads does. It does not build courage. It wears the edge off the thing until it stops sounding true even to the person who wrote it. So they held down the whole thing and watched it disappear, and then they lay there in the dark with a completely clean screen and a chest that would not settle. Here is what you have never once said out loud to another living person. You have a folder of things you never sent. Not a real folder. The one in your head, where you keep every sentence you composed and edited and decided against. Things you never said to a parent. A message you wrote to somebody who is not alive anymore. The paragraph you built for the person who left, the one where you finally explain what it did to you, which you have revised for years and will never send. You are the most articulate person nobody has ever heard from. You would be surprised how many people in your life would describe you as quiet. You are not quiet. You are dense with unsaid things, which sounds like the same thing from the outside and is nothing like it at all. And here is the part that eats at you. You are not silent because you have nothing to say. You are silent because you have too much, and you know that if you start you will not be able to control where it goes, and you have built your entire adult life on not being a person who loses control of anything. So you send the short version. Sounds good. No worries. Thinking of you. 4 words instead of 400, delivered in a light tone. And then you put the phone down and sit there with everything you actually meant still sitting in your chest. There are people who love you who have never once been given a full sentence from you about what you feel. And some of them have decided things about you because of it. That you are private. That you are hard to read. 1 or 2 of them have quietly concluded that they matter less to you than they do, and they were wrong. And they will probably never find out they were wrong. You have told yourself this is consideration. That you are sparing them. That it would be too much and they have their own lives. That is not entirely true, and you know it. Some of it is fear. How many things have you written to people you love and never let them read? If this is landing on the exact place you have never let anybody near, let it be known, even if only to me. Beloved, let me talk about what all that swallowing has cost you. You have become an expert in the acceptable amount. You know precisely how much warmth is safe to show in a message. You calibrate. You add something light at the end so the whole thing does not sit too heavy. You take out the sentence that would reveal how much you actually thought about it. You have waited hours to reply to somebody you were thinking about all afternoon, because replying quickly would say something you were not ready to say. You have let relationships thin out and disappear rather than say, "I miss you," which is 3 words, which is all it would have taken. And when the silence built up, you looked for other ways to release it. You wrote things you never showed. You rehearsed conversations in the car with nobody there. You told the whole story to yourself, again, in your own head, where it was safe and where it changed nothing. Some nights you looked for a sign instead. A number, a song, a dream, some indication that you would not have to be the one who spoke first. And when the holding wore you down, you numbed it. A screen until late. Food you did not taste. Another hour of work so there would be no quiet room left in the day for the ache to speak in. I am not saying this to correct you. I watched all of it and I did not think less of you for 1 second. Moses had the same problem, and he was so certain about it that he argued with me over it. He did not say the assignment was too big. He said, "I am not eloquent." He said he was slow of speech and slow of tongue, and he said it more than once, and the last thing he said on the subject was simply, "Please send somebody else." He was not being humble. He genuinely believed his mouth was the disqualifying thing about him. And I gave him a brother to speak for him, because he asked, and because I meet people where they actually are rather than where they should be. But here is what happened to that man over 40 years. The one who could not speak became the one who spoke to a nation. Not because his tongue changed. Because the fear of opening his mouth eventually became smaller than the thing he was carrying. The last book he is given credit for is one long speech. Chapter after chapter of a man who said he could not talk, talking, at the end of his life, to everybody. I never fixed his mouth. That is the part people expect, and it did not happen. I simply kept giving him things to say until saying them mattered more than how they came out. Now let me tell you about a woman who came into a room where she was not invited. I was eating at the house of a Pharisee. A formal meal, respectable people, the kind of gathering where everybody knows the rules. And a woman from that town came in. Everybody there knew exactly who she was and what she was known for. There is no version of that entrance that was not humiliating. She did not say anything. That is the part one needs you to hear. Not one word is recorded from her mouth in that entire account. She came in with an alabaster jar, and she stood behind me at my feet, and she wept, and her tears fell on my feet, and she wiped them with her hair, and she broke the jar and poured out what was in it. The man hosting the meal watched all of it and thought something unkind, and did not say that out loud either. So there were 2 silent people in that room. One holding contempt in. One with something so far past words that she had to pour it out of a jar. And I turned to him and said, "Do you see this woman?" Then I told him what she had done. He had not given me water for my feet, and she had washed them with tears. He had not greeted me with a kiss, and she had not stopped. He had not anointed my head, and she had anointed my feet. She did not have to explain herself. I explained her. And then I said the thing that ended it. I told her that her sins were forgiven, and that her faith had saved her, and that she should go in peace. Nobody in that room got to grade her sentence structure. She never made a case. She came in and let something out of a jar, and I did the rest. That is what I do with what people cannot say. I take it and I say it for them, in rooms where they would not be believed, to people who would not have listened. Now let me tell you what those 4 sentences said. The first one was an admission. Not a big one, and not the one you would expect. Something they got wrong that they have never acknowledged to you or anybody. The second was about a specific day. One you would remember instantly and probably think they had forgotten. The third was the closest thing to the real feeling. It was not a declaration. It was smaller than that and worse, in the way true things are worse. Something about how often they think about you and how long that has been going on. And the fourth one was the reason it got deleted. The fourth sentence asked you a question. That is what made it impossible to send. Not the admission. Not the feeling. The question, because a question requires an answer, and an answer might be no, and a person can survive silence indefinitely, but they cannot survive a no while they are already this tired. So the whole thing went. All 4. And they told themselves it was the right decision. People always do. They said it was not the right time, and that you probably have your own things going on, and that it would have come out of nowhere for you, and every one of those is true and none of them is the reason. And here is what you do not know. They wrote it out again the next day. Not the same words. Shorter this time. It exists somewhere now, unsent, and every day it does not get sent, it gets a little less possible to send and a little more impossible to forget. Come back to your folder. Come back to everything you have written and never let anybody read. The paragraph to the person who left. The message to somebody who is gone. The sentence you have been rewriting for years and will never deliver. You have believed that the words only count if they arrive. Hear me now. Every unsent word you have ever written has already been read. Not by them. By me. The whole folder. Every draft, every version, every sentence you deleted in the middle of the night while sitting in a dark room feeling foolish about it. Nothing you meant went into the air and vanished. There is no such thing. You have been composing to me for years without knowing it, and I have received every single line, including the ones you would never let another person see, especially those. And I know what you actually think about the people in your life, which is far more than any of them have ever been told. Now I will say the other half, because I love you enough to say both. Some of that needs to be sent. Not all of it. Not to everybody. But you are running out of time on one specific person, and you know exactly who I mean. And you have been telling yourself that the moment will present itself in some easier form. It will not present itself. It never has. Nobody has ever been handed a good moment for a hard sentence. Every honest thing that has ever been said between 2 people was said at an inconvenient hour by somebody who did not feel ready. If something in you just moved, say so, even quietly. Even out loud in an empty room, because a heart that agrees with me stops writing letters it never mails. So let me pray over you now, right where you are, at whatever hour this has found you. I speak peace over the part of you that measures every sentence before it leaves. You do not have to be careful in here. Nothing you say to me has ever needed a lighter ending on it. I speak healing over every message you wrote and deleted. Over the ones written to somebody who cannot receive them anymore. Over the years of composing, and the nights you sat there feeling ridiculous for caring that much. You were not too much. You were somebody with a great deal to say and nowhere safe to say it. I speak wisdom over you. You will know which words need to be sent and which ones were only ever for you and me. Not everything you have written is meant to arrive, and I will show you the difference clearly. I speak courage over you. Courage to send 4 sentences without softening the third one. Courage to ask the question even though the answer might be no. Courage to be the one who speaks first, again, after all the times it cost you. I speak protection over your name, your home, your rest, and your heart. Nothing said honestly and in love can be used against you in a way that outlives what I have written about you. I speak restoration over your family, over the friendship that went quiet, over the chair at your table that has stayed empty too long, over the parent or the child you keep meaning to call. Call them. I speak provision over your work and your money and every practical thing you have laid awake calculating in the dark. Hand me the calculating. You were never built to carry the arithmetic and the swallowing in the same night. I speak strength into your faith. Not the loud kind. The quiet kind that gets up on an unremarkable Wednesday when nothing has visibly changed and chooses me one more time. That has always been worth more to me than every loud season you have ever had. I speak freedom over you from the belief that a feeling only counts once somebody receives it. Everything you have ever felt about the people you love is real whether it arrived or not, and none of it has been sitting in your chest going bad. I speak rest over your body. Over shoulders that have not come down in years. Over a jaw that has held sentences in for so long that it aches. Let it open tonight. There is nothing here you have to hold. And I speak breakthrough over the exact thing you left out of your prayer this week. Not the general thing. The specific one. The one you stopped mentioning because you got tired of the sound of your own asking. I know its name. I have always known its name. Somebody you love has a draft on their phone right now that they will not send, and they may need to hear this more than you did. My child, a woman walked into a room full of people who despised her and never said one word. She broke a jar. That was her whole message, and I understood every bit of it, and I told the room what she meant. Everything you never sent, I received. So write it again tomorrow. And this time do not take out the third sentence. Rest now. You have already been heard.